Bonjour, this is Jasmine. Thank you so much for stopping to smell the roses on Rue Madame. For those of you who are new to the neighborhood, I am a writer, a storyteller, and a community builder. I write about culture, politics, parenthood, and my life here in France. And I have a blog, and that is on Patreon for creative writing, articles, essays, talking about all of those things I mentioned. So yeah, check that out, make a pledge, and become a Rue Madame resident, and join the book club and all those good, fun perks that you'll get by joining. So this video is about why I was up all night and why I was so eager to make this video. First, I was up all night because my 2-year-old was sleepless. I think she was a little hungry maybe because she didn't eat enough at dinner. And so she was getting up 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the morning, crying and sometimes hysterical. That's mom life for you. Mom and dad life. And also I was up thinking about the holidays we just celebrated, Christmas Eve, and the festivities with family that we enjoyed. So if you saw my previous video, we made a bûche de Noël. It's a French pastry cake that's delicious, and it was homemade. My husband, who is French, did the honors of making that with our kids. But we didn't put up a tree. We didn't put up lights. We didn't buy any gifts for our children, but they were spoiled rotten anyway. They got maybe 3 to 5 gifts each. So they were well taken care of. We're waiting on Auntie Keisha and Nana's gifts that are coming in the mail. But I was thinking about KWANZA. And I was thinking about future celebrations and how that will look like, because already we're very minimalist as far as the commercial holidays. We don't go all out, but re-looking at what we're going to do in the future, celebrate Christmas. And since KWANZA, I've seen it more and more, on my timeline with friends and just in our current social climate, Black culture and Black appreciation is on the forefront. And that also goes back to the video I made about Juneteenth and how that has become a replacement for the 4th of July, since the 4th of July really doesn't acknowledge the fact that my ancestors were still enslaved at the time of the 4th of July. So Juneteenth is kind of a revelation in some sort of recognizing our past, recognizing our history, and highlighting that instead of repeating and duplicating just past traditions, because that's what we're used to. And I want to just give you a tidbit of what KWANZA is, how it originated. So KWANZA takes place over 7 days annually from December 26th to January 1st. And it's all about bringing family, community, and culture together. And the observance was created in 1966. So it's not that old. My mom was 4 years old when this was, all came about. And it is drawing on a variety of African traditions, deriving its name from the Swahili phrase, Matunda ya Kwanza, meaning first fruits. And each year, millions of African Americans gather friends and family throughout KWANZA week to honor the Pan-African holidays' 7 founding principles, which is unity, self-determination, collective work and responsibility, cooperative economics, purpose, creativity, and faith. And wow, if you were to describe the African community, it would be that. So that's really a great summary. Each day of Kwanzaa is dedicated to one of these 7 principles, collectively known as the NGUZO SABA. I don't know what that means, but yeah, that's just a quick summary of what Kwanzaa is. And this video isn't to tell you what Kwanzaa is really, but that's just a introduction. But this video is really to share with you how I grew up thinking about Kwanzaa, looking at Kwanzaa, viewing Kwanzaa. And this is as a child and like growing up and how I looked at Kwanzaa. It was a holiday I knew Black people celebrated. I knew it was something for Black people, but not for us. And I know that's weird. Like, I never associated Kwanzaa with the Black people I knew, with the Black people in the family. I don't know. I just felt like Kwanzaa was something that was marginal, already in a marginal community, if that makes sense. And I thought that was, no, like now looking back at it, it's kind of strange. You know what I mean? There was a huge disconnect. And I guess that can be attributed to just our disconnect from our history in general. But I always thought of Kwanzaa of being associated with Black people that were really into being Black. And that's so funny. Like, when you hear it out loud, it's kind of like ridiculous. But it made me go within. And that's why I was up all night just thinking like, wow, that's crazy. You know what I mean? And thinking about questioning our traditions, questioning our customs, questioning what we do every year, and like rethinking, is it for us really? Or is it just something we kind of got stuck into, you know, doing because that's the culture. And I was asking myself, like, for Christmas, you know, Christmas is a holiday of bringing family together and Santa Claus and, you know, lights and Christmas trees and gifts and the joy and harmony. You know, you think of Christmas songs, Christmas music, Mariah Carey, you know. For us, it's about church and Jesus and God, obviously, but that all gets lost and muddied up with the commercialization of Christmas and how it's just become a consumer holiday more than anything else. So the fact that I grew up thinking Kwanzaa was kind of not odd, but it was for others. You know, it didn't apply to us. Christmas was our thing. You know, Christmas is the reason for the season, or Jesus the reason for the season. You know, that's how we grew up. And it also makes you question about everything else we did. You know, we started to question Columbus Day years ago. Like, why are we celebrating like a person who committed genocide all over the world, and, you know, completely, you know, extinguished many tribes and populations, and he has a holiday, you know. And I think in many cities it's now Indigenous People Day. You know, it's changing, and we see Confederate statues and like enemies of the United States being propped up in statues and monuments all over the country, largely in the South of America, South of the United States. And now those are being taken down. My husband shared a tidbit with me, and he mentioned how the first statue that was ripped down was in Martinique. And that is a French state. It's a part of France, Martinique. And he was credited for ending slavery. So they took him down. Anyways, he was the first to come down, and then it started happening in the United States. But that's a little tidbit of information I didn't know. I didn't know it started in Martinique in France, and then it went into southern United States and in Germany and Europe and all over, where they started taking down statues. Because I think this year in particular is making people kind of wake up. Like, what have we been doing all these years? Like, what have we been doing? Like, why is this like normal? Like, a lot of stuff is normal. And and we're in Thanksgiving. I mentioned Thanksgiving in one of my videos of how, that is like the beginning of the end for Indigenous peoples, like when settlers came to the United States or to the Americas, and how we celebrate that. Like, we've kind of snuff out all the evil, sinister colonization part, and we like celebrate with a turkey, and and we easily forget, because it is a joyous occasion to spend with family and friends and to have great food. But I think it is important to question and to change and to evolve and to use the wisdom and the knowledge that we learn over time to say, okay, that was cool back then, but we're in 2020. We can do things differently. We don't have to do what our parents did or our great grandparents did because it was like that, which brings me back to Christmas. And since we were already on the helm in the process of kind of like doing something different, alternative for Christmas, since we don't, do the normal decorating and stuff like that. So I think from now on, we will acknowledge KWANZA as something we'll observe and practice, because it's about, getting better and embracing our culture and really analyzing how we move and maneuver through the world. And I was asking myself, does the Black community, or has the Black community up until this point just been striving for a Black version of whiteness? Like, and that's a real question. I'd love for you to comment and tell me what you think, because I don't know. I just feel like we just want to have this tradition, this object, this whatever, but make it Black. You know what I mean? Like having a Black Santa Claus. That became a thing. You know what I mean? There was a really superficial, shallow debate about Santa Claus and what does he look like, and is he Black, is he white, does he change depending on what house he's in? Instead of saying, okay, Santa Claus has always been this man. Instead of just turning him Black because we want to feel included, how about we just embrace our own culture, embrace what is ours, embrace our Blackness, instead of just wanting a Black version of things. So Santa Claus is a good example of that. But I was also thinking about the Star Spangled Banner, our American flag. I know there's like a Black version of that too, like with Black stripes and Black stars and black and white. Then you have the Pan-African flag, which is like an alternative to that also as well. And then you have the Black national anthem. I think it's Lift Every Voice and Sing, I think. And then you have the national anthem, which I grew up pledging the allegiance to the flag. And, I remember doing that when I was like in 2nd, 3rd, 4th grade. And that was the thing. We used to put our, I mean, that still happens at baseball games, sports events and things like that, which is perfectly fine. But when we learn the history of the anthem and how the verses that come after is about like killing slaves or like genocide or something like that, just really evil, sinister, that really like belittles my race and destroys my existence. And but we grow up singing it, we grow up learning it, we grow up being proud of our American, but never looking down under like, yeah, but and yeah, so I think I kind of feel like we're like empty shells that we're filled with this American culture, this culture, whatever a culture that you're in and you're a minority. So if you're in Canada or France, where I am, or in the United States, if your culture or your identity isn't preserved or valued or intentionally kept sacred, it's kind of like you're a shell and you're just filled with everything that a textbook gives you, or the president says, or the history that's in that country, instead of your particular history for your people. And it reminds me of the book, I forget the name. It's kind of like White Man, Black Face, or something like that. And it talks about how there's a little white girl and boy in every Black person because, we grow up singing the same songs, absorbing the same Disney films, the same textbooks at school, the same history. So we produce this biased, prejudiced, unfortunately racist world, and we're all consuming the same thing. So how do we break that vicious cycle of not knowing our history, not caring to know, not being interested in other people's history that isn't so mainstream, watered down, whitewashed, etc., so we don't reproduce the same type of outcomes that are unequal? And I discussed a little bit of this over on the blog about Afrocentrism and Eurocentrism. And it really goes to show how Eurocentric we are and how Eurocentric we are grown up to be. How there's a disconnect with our own identity, our own pride, because you can be as Black and proud as you want, as you claim, but with popular culture and dominant culture, it's exactly that. It's dominant. So with the efforts we may claim internally, with all of the social conditioning that we are subdued to, it's very, very difficult to have a sense of self and a sense of community and a sense of culture without being subconsciously manipulated by the forces that be. And that's why you can have some people that feel more Eurocentric than African, or more Eurocentric than African American, because we grow up in the same culture, for one, and we grow up believing and doing the same thing, same traditions. Like, there's very little that separates my family at the time growing up than the white family next door, And I think the only difference is we just wanted to feel accepted. We want the same traditions. We want a Santa Claus too, but we just want to, instead of owning our Blackness, owning our our uniqueness, it's kind of snuffed down and suppressed in order to fit in order to succeed, in order to get ahead, in order to make friends. So it really is a mind game. Really, it's really a psychosis, and that's why the effects of the past, past oppressions, past sins of our country, slavery and segregation, all that, it really does a psychological number on you that you really, in today, you can look back and sit back and in retrospect say, wow, you can finally ask those questions. And I think that's one of the very small, minor silver linings that we have in 2020 is just really looking at the world, how we consume, how we pollute, how we do everything, how we communicate with each other. Everything was turned on its head. So, and it's really doing a number, and I'm sure in multiple communities, not just the Black community, but with Juneteenth and the American flag and the protests and just questioning everything. And now Christmas and KWANZA, because you would see KWANZA in passing and never like, oh, we know what it is. We think we know what it is. And just like Juneteenth, we think we knew what it was. And until this moment, we had to sit and actually research it. We had to sit and actually, take the time for ourselves, for our community, for our history. You know what I mean? Like, because if you grow up in public schools in the United States, you're just trying to get the grade. You're trying to get the grade. You're trying to pass. You're trying to graduate. You're trying to get the best grade. You're not trying to learn your history necessarily. You're not trying to cipher through the BS of colonialism and, learning different presidents over the years and not our ancestors. You know what I mean? Like, you have to really take the time and have the free time to learn about yourself, because in popular culture, mainstream media and history won't do that. So I think that's another reason why KWANZA just seems like an obvious thing, but I don't want to assume. That's why I'm going to do my research. But yeah, I just want to, embrace a more minimalist, intentional, purposeful life, and culturally intelligent and literate. So I guess it puts the burden on me to be more engaged with like myself and my community. And I think that starts by saying, okay, we do this all the time. We've been doing this. And it's good, it's entertaining, it's fun, it's happy, but it's underlying toxic for being a really genuine, diverse, and accepting and tolerant place. So yeah, so Christmas, I think, is a part of that, because I was wondering if I was like not a great parent for not like buying a whole bunch of stuff for my kids and like splurging on Christmas. We're in a pandemic, and we can just splurge a little bit in times of great adversity. But I was thinking, I want to do something different, because that's what we've done. That's what I grew up doing, like getting gifts for Christmas and getting, receiving. How can we change, and how can we try to pivot or redirect our intentions, redirect our morals, redirect our priorities and what's important? Because I was thinking, it's great to buy a whole bunch of gifts for your kids. Please have at it. You deserve it. But for me personally, I look at it like, okay, if my children's investment accounts, savings is less than what I spent for them on their gifts for this year, there's an imbalance. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, buying gifts, splurging, Christmas is perfect. But if they have $50 in savings and $900 in gifts and toys and things like that, I think we really just need to, relook and re-examine and be introspective and say, okay, this is how we've done it. And this is how maybe I want to do it in the future to get better outcomes for our children, to be better established as a community. Because I think we are missing that balance and also that long-term future planning. And I think just continuing with the status quo allows for that to happen. So I think KWANZA is something I'm going to learn and I'm going to research and I'm going to be knowledgeable about before I say I want to do it. But I think that is a way to, one, put more value in our culture and our history and our Blackness and in the essence of our spirit. And I feel like that we are a spirit community, a very spiritual beings, but also to reduce the consumeristic, materialistic habits of being in a narcissistic society. And I don't think it's on the individual per se, as far as to attribute all the blame, but I think it's just how we were raised and how we just never question what our culture expects from us. Just like I stopped wearing my wedding ring because I started to question like, but that's a whole nother video. I want to save that for another time, but just trying to question everything that we do, everything that we believe in, everything that we celebrate. So in summary, I realized that my whole life has been taking the road less traveled. And I feel like that has always been me, but I never really realized it until now, being in France and having my children and all of that. And that goes with the decisions that I make, but also just trying to like be different and challenge normatives, challenge norms, and to be introspective. I want to harness and to capture this moment. I'm during a pandemic, during social tensions and racial tensions, and a world that's completely upside down, where you're trying to like say, wow, I think everybody is doing this, like questioning like what's going on. Like, people in the street protesting and, cops, running wild, killing people, just question like, where is our society? Where has it been? How long have we been sleeping on the things we used to think was normal and good? And start like really embracing ourselves and what we know is better and the best for our society. Yeah, so that's all I have for now. Hopefully you can connect with that disconnect we have with our own Blackness and just questioning if we are making culture or is culture making us. So thank you so much. I'll see you over on Patreon for creative writing and bonus content. I'll see you next time. Bye.